Hey guys, Pokemon Show here, and this is reaching the top, episode 3. So, we're gonna talk about cities as of right now, before this weekend, and it's the 8th right now of December. We're talking about what I predict's gonna win this weekend, and what the summary of the 3 weekends have been so far. Um, so first off, Landorus Mewtwo, with Buffalon and Terrakion and Tornadus EX, has 11 wins. I expected this deck to do really good, but I didn't really expect it to do as this good. Well, it's really vulnerable to Hammer Time, but unless they hit this Tails, you're gonna win. But Hammer Time really has a good matchup against that deck because they don't have energy acceleration. So I don't know why it's not doing this well. I really think it's better than Hammer Time, no doubt. But I don't think many people are playing Hammer Time. They're not really expecting this deck to they're expecting it to run it over, but that's wrong. If you have Enhanced Hammer, you can get rid of those DCEs. You can get rid of those fighting energy, and you can get rid of everything on their field as long as you hit heads. Normally, you can hit heads pretty easily since a junk hunt. And yeah, so it's really complicated because of how good the deck is. Like, it's really complicated because it's just psychology. People think that since Landorus is weak against Landorus has an advantage against Darkrai, that it automatically loses. But that's a different story. You probably will win. And if you run their own Landorus EX with Darkrai Landorus Hammers, you're probably going to lose, to be honest. You just can't win because you're running with Hammers also. You're running Landorus. You can only run it with Darkrai and Darkrai only with Sableye. I don't think there's anything else you can run with it. But there is one with Landorus win, and I think that's Dustin Zimmerman. He's a good player, no doubt. I think maybe he just got the list right, but it's not as consistent. It won't, but it is good. It makes the Hydreigon matchup way easier. It makes the Eels matchup way easier. Like, you'll probably win almost every matchup against Eels. It's really good, but Ho-Oh, it's really doing good. It has like 5 wins as of Pokegym right now. I think it has way more because I don't think because I know I won like 8 as of me, like on video. On the top cut, it won a few. I think 2 or 3 maybe. I know Puka won one. I think didn't Jason? No, that was Darkrai Terrakion. But still, Ho-Oh is very, very good. I think it's the 3rd best deck in the format right now. Well, top 3 right now. Not 3rd best deck, but it's in the top 3. People are not playing enough Ho-Oh. But it is getting a rise lately, so I think Landorus Mewtwo is not going to have the most wins at the end of the season. Ho-Oh is very, very good. Resistance to Landorus. You run Tornadus EX version, then you're probably going to win against Landorus Mewtwo. You run your own Mewtwo. You run energy acceleration. You have energy switch. You're doing really good. You can win the Mewtwo war easily, even if they have EXP share. If they don't have a fighting energy that they can move when you're attacking their Mewtwo, they lose. They have to have at least 1 fighting energy to go with the Mewtwo war. And you could just Tool Scrapper also, which is awesome. Landorus Mewtwo, it's one of those decks that is it's winning too much. People are not teching against it. People are not testing enough against it. But I do understand you're running Buffalon in that deck. That makes it even tougher. But you can get around Buffalon. You can get around it. But if you absolutely have to get it out of your way, then do it. So next deck that is doing best, Blastoise Keldeo with 10 wins as of Pokegym right now. It's probably going to change like in a couple hours when everybody reports, but it's good. I expected Blastoise Keldeo to do good. If you have a consistent list, if you're running Tropical Beach, basically you have a good list. If you're not running Tropical Beach, it's not a bad list, but it's just not as consistent. If you can't get your hands on Tropical Beach, I would recommend not playing the deck. Um, but if you running Taco Beach, you don't attack the first turn anyway, so you can just use it. Unless you're not running Emolga. I don't think anybody runs Emolga in Blastoise Keldeo, which I highly recommend, but if you're running Tropical Beach, you don't. So the advantages of not running Tropical Beach is getting Squirtles out easier. But you also run Level Ball, so it's really easy. It's still easy to get Squirtles out. But you can replace your Level Ball with Emolga. But you don't always start with Emolga. You always have Level Ball. You always can use it. You can't afford to use an attack with just to get basics out. They could get turn 2 Darkrai. They can capture your Squirtles. They can knock out stuff. That's the downside of Keldeo. But the upside, you're attaching energy like a beast. You're probably going to get 3 to 4 energy on Keldeo. Maybe even more if you knock out all their Mewtwo's that you know. As long as there's no Mewtwo on the field, you're fine. But you have to scout to know they have Mewtwo. So I wouldn't just go stacking all your energy on Keldeo and then find out they have a Mewtwo and then you just get sad. You're like, I can't believe I just did this. You lose all your energy, you lose the game, you lose the round. But the upside, that you can run your own Mewtwo. You can just counter back. But if you have so many energy on Keldeo, you're screwed. You can't do anything. It's kind of like a loss. You just don't have enough steam to keep up. Especially if you have so many energy retrievals in this card already, just to get all that energy on that Keldeo. That's why you have to even out your energy. You have to at least have 3 to 4 before you attach 5 or 6 energy on 2 Keldeo at least. Then you can super scoop up. Then you could probably go ham, attach energies on the Mewtwo, attach energies on the Keldeo. It's awesome. This deck is amazing. Mewtwo is really good in that deck because you can just pile on 10 energy. But I wouldn't really recommend that unless you want to do it for the game-winning knockout, which would be pretty funny. You do 2 energy retrieval, attach a couple energy, super scoop up, attach a couple energy, which probably won't happen, but still, it'll be fun. It'll be fun. Blastoise Keldeo is one of those decks that you can have an amazing finish. You can show off, attach so many energy. The downside is that sometimes you just can't get set up. Sometimes they just knock out your Squirtles. You're done. Sometimes you can only get 1 Squirtle out, which if you only have 1 Squirtle, don't bench it. I repeat, do not bench it. Unless you're going first and you have the Skyla Rare Candy Blastoise. That is the only exception. Only exception. Blastoise is so good. It's good. It's not the best deck in format, but it's good. But it's not as good as Hydreigon's doing right now. Hydreigon is not doing that much. I don't think anybody's really playing it because of the Landorus, but it's underrated. Hydreigon is probably, to be honest, the best deck in format for me. But it depends on your area. It could be the best deck in your area, but not the best deck all around. Georgia, for example, I live in Georgia. It's not the best deck in format. Blastoise Keldeo is huge, but you could make Darkrai Hydreigon the best deck in format if you run Shaymin EX. You don't want to run Verzion because normally they can attach they can just have 3 Mewtwo. 2 energy on a Mewtwo with Blastoise. They could just knock out 2 blends gone. It's just that. It's like a snap. You're not going to win. Unless you have 2 other blends on the field. If you can get more blends, it would be fine. But don't just risk 100 HP on a basic that is guaranteed to knock out because of its low HP. So next, we got Darkrai and stuff like Darkrai Mewtwo, Darkrai Terrakion, Darkrai Landorus, Darkrai, Straight Darkrai, Speed Darkrai, not Hammer Time. There's a lot of Darkrai stuff. Darkrai Terrakion, Darkrai Tornadus, Darkrai Roserade with Terrakion. I don't know if that considered Darkrai Terrakion regular, but all that. It has 6 wins. It's the 3rd best deck according to PokeGym. I think this is going to change. Ho-Oh is really, really good. Ho-Oh deserves to be on top. I don't know how many times I've said this, but Ho-Oh is amazing because it sounds pretty cool. But not just because of that. It's a really good deck. Darkrai stuff, Darkrai Mewtwo. I played this deck. I really like it. But the problem is that if you're versing Hydreigon, you're not running heal cards sometimes. You'll lose, trust me. If they get Hydreigon set up, you'll lose. If you can deny them with Hydreigon, then you win most of the time because they could still use Darkrai. It's still like straight Darkrai, but just with a couple useless cards. Like, they can't get out Hydreigon. That's huge, but they can still Max Potion. They can still do that. But it's not as consistent. That's the thing. If they discard all their energy, you could just sweep through. But if you get a bad start, that's bad. But if you're running Sigilyph in Darkrai Mewtwo, which is amazing. It's good, trust me. I would play it in there if you're afraid of Darkrai Hydreigon, because you can just knock out all their dinos. If they get a Hydreigon, you can knock that out, but it will be pretty hard because they can Max Potion it. But you can just Night Spear, 90-30 to Dino. If they can't Rare Candy, you can just attack, even if they do Rare Candy, they don't Max Potion, they don't know you run Dark Claw. You just attack Dark Claw, catch your Hydreigon, knockout, you can use Sigilyph, sweep. Because most of their attackers are all EXs. All the basics are all EXs, unless they're running Virizion, which they really don't. And that'll take 3 turns to set up, so you can probably catch her and knock it out before it even gets set up. Because, yeah. So you can just automatically win right there with Darkrai Mewtwo. Against Hydreigon, knock out their dinos, Hydreigons. That's the only card that people normally have besides Virizion. I don't think people run Virizion that they can knock out Sigilyph with. If they don't have Hydreigon, can't knock out Sigilyph, you win the game. So next, I'm going to talk about, in the next 2 decks, I'm going to talk about is, actually 3. Rate Eels, Ho-Oh, and Darkrai Hydreigon. Hammer Time is kind of straightforward. You know what it does. People know what it does. It has good matchups all around. To be honest, I really think you know what it does. But Rate Eels have a lot of different variants. You can have Victini. You could have like a high regular Rayquaza count and only 2 Rayquaza EX. Maybe you're not even run Rayquaza EX, which is weird because you need Rayquaza EX to knock out everything. But if they have a high Rayquaza count and you're playing Darkrai Hydreigon, they can donk your Dragon Dino. But that is why you run 2-2 split of Dino, 2 Dragon Dino and 2 Dark. That is the upside of Rate Eels. It can donk. It can donk. But the attack you do not want to use with Rayquaza EX ever, even if you have to. Even if you get like 3 energy, that's only going to happen like once in a 100 chance. Sorry, 150 chance. That really doesn't happen unless you're like, unless your deck is clumped and you made it like that, and that's stacking. So, you need Rayquaza. Rayquaza's good, knocking out everything in format, but the problem is Landorus. It just knocks out your Tynamos, knocks out your Eels. You just do 30-30, catcher, double knockout. It's that simple. Rate Eels is done for if they have early turn 1 Landorus. That's why you have to at least, like, they can knock out your Tynamos in 1 hit. That is why you bench 3 Tynamos. If they don't have catcher, you end them down, they don't have good hand, bench 2 Tynamos. But, like, normally you can't really bench 3 Tynamos in 1 turn because you have to at least have 2 Eels set up to get Rate Eels going. That is really how it works. It's at 5 wins along with Ho-Oh and Hammer Time. I just gotta tell you, Hammer Time is good against Rate Eels. They can Crushing Hammer away your fire energy, and you probably have nothing you can do about it unless you like run 2 Super Rod. Because if they keep hitting heads like a boss, you lose and it's game over. So basically, Rate Eels loses to Landorus, Hammer Time, and sometimes Hydreigon. Depends if they can get. It depends who's got a faster setup. Normally you got a faster setup, so you'll win. But if they get Hydreigon, they can Dragon Blast you till no tomorrow. But you can discard 2 energy and have the advantage because you have the ability. They use a trainer to get energy back. So normally Hydreigon's a good matchup, but Landorus is so popular right now that you can't use Rate Eels much. It's not really doing as good as it was last format. It won everything last format. Regionals so far. Rate Eels is good. It's still going to be good next format according to Japan, but we'll have to see because our format is normally different. So, yeah.